You need to
Mhm.
give yourself plenty of time to be creating marketing materials that are going to support you before the show, during the show, and after the show. And this should begin about 6 to 12 months before so that you have time for your team to be on board. You have time for plenty of assets to be created that will be sent out before the show.
Hello, and welcome back to Revenue Remix. I am your host, Summer Poletti, founder and CRO at Rise of Us, where we help CEOs and founders plan for and achieve their next level of growth. And I'm on spring break in March and giving you another classic episode. This was one of our first guests, and it is timely still because spring conference season is upon us. And before you know it, fall conference season is right around the corner. So I had a guest come on to give multiple strategies for how you can get the most out of that conference spend. I still see companies betting big on conferences, and why not? Meeting clients and partners in person, excellent. But here's the thing. Your conference spend is very expensive between the booth and the travel, the per diem, the entertainment fees, what have you. It is a gamble, hoping that you're going to show up and meet people. What we've got for you is a multi-layered strategy that covers pre, mid, and post-show sales and marketing strategies so that you are very intentional about squeezing every little last drop of value out of those events. And I've been doing events for longer than I want to admit. When I had this guest on for this interview, I learned new things that I had never thought of. So without further ado, let's revisit 7 tips for your most successful conference season yet. You know what is a great way to improve trade show performance? Yeah, it's collaborating with your marketing partner. So Amy is here to help you take control of that process instead of leaving it up to chance. Amy, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Summer. My name is Amy Silberman. I am a content marketing specialist and client success manager. I've been working with Do It Works for the past 7 years. One of our main clients that we service are clients who are in the manufacturing industry, and those clients are really well versed in attending trade shows. And we get a lot of questions from them. Like you said, Summer, how can we align our sales and marketing? How can we see what the ROI is on us attending these trade shows? They are not cheap. They take people away from their day-to-day duties. So they want to make sure that they are getting a return on the time and money spent invested there. So that's kind of my background here on this subject.
Super smart. I'm glad people are asking those questions. And so conference season is super fun. I mean, I am a sales leader. I love getting out of the slower summer season. It's a rush into fourth quarter, tons of energy, fun giveaways. I mean, you're seeing new and old people. It is really tempting, especially as a sales professional, to just show up and dazzle. Maybe that's because I spent a little bit of time in theater, but what Amy's got is 7 tips for us today so that you can ensure that you're having a grand slam instead of just showing up and dazzling. And again, I'm going to do my best to keep quiet. So Amy, take it away.
Sure. Yeah, like Summer said, I have 7 tips that in my time spent working with manufacturing companies and other companies to attend trade shows and other conference events that I've just seen kind of show in and show out, they work. So
Woohoo.
the first tip, like I said, is going to be to plan ahead. And I know, Summer, you just mentioned it in your introduction here, but a lot of times, these companies, you're researching far ahead. Which shows do I want to be attending? You're planning that, you're building your booths, you're building your backdrops. But what I don't see being built oftentimes is a comprehensive sales and marketing plan. And to do that, you really do need to plan ahead. You need to decide on your goals and your strategies early. And I'm talking, 12 months, 8 months before you're going to be attending this trade show. 'Cause your trade shows are not last minute, and your sales and marketing goals should not be last minute either. That will be sent out daily during the show, and that will be sent out in the months following the show to really have a comprehensive touch point for anyone who's going to be attending and visiting your booth. You also want to give yourself plenty of time for any website updates that you need to make. And I'll touch on this a little bit more in a later tip, but that website updates take time. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of time to get done what you need to be done and be happy with it.
So 12 months ahead, we're not
Yeah,
showing up in dazzling. I got
definitely.
a little stressed listening to that, but go ahead.
I know. And it is stressful. It's not something that people typically think about. But, when you're coming into it, and like you said, we're just going to show up and dazzle. That's
Mhm.
great. And, I'm sure that everyone who shows up is dazzling, but it's much easier to dazzle when you have this huge support behind you of pre planned marketing materials, of a fully functional, fully beautiful website, and a team that's fully on board with the goals and strategies that you've planned ahead for. The other thing that I've seen is important is you need to have a company sales process that's either planned out or refined. If you need revisions, if you need to refine it, that should be done ahead as well. Because we're building through marketing all of these different touch points, like I said before, during and after the show. And if you don't have a solid sales process in place for your company, then all those touch points are just going to kind of be a moot point because there's no follow up, there's no follow through, and then it's just going to
Mm,
turn into gathering business cards that sit on your desk
mhm.
forever. So,
Good point.
having that sales process defined and refined before the show is a really big part of planning ahead. The next tip that I tell my clients is to go into your trade show with a specific, actionable, and measurable goal. A lot of times, like I said, you'll go in and you'll just, oh, well, we're going to gather leads. We're going to just get business cards. We're going to get all these people, or they're going to visit our booth. They're going to give us their email. They're going to give us their contact information. And that's great. But your goal should be more than just get new leads. That's obviously everyone's goal who's exhibiting at this trade show. And that's not really a statistic that you can use to determine the ROI on your trade show attendance. So, all of
Mhm.
your goals should include a desired action that you want your contact to take. And this could be a newsletter subscription. It could be you want increased website traffic that's directly coming from your trade show attendees. It could be, you want them to sign up for a webinar that you're having in the next couple of months. It could be you want to gain your social media followers. Your leads should be acquired with an intent, and that intent should be that they're going to perform a specific action to engage further with your company, because that way you're going to have a higher chance of closing them as a customer and they're going to move through your sales process rather than you just getting a business card from someone who's stopped by your booth and counting that as a new lead and moving on. Your
Yeah,
goals
that
should
makes
also,
sense.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
not just new leads, but maybe so I wanna drill down there. Maybe
Yeah.
it is a certain number of demos, maybe you want a certain number of new social media followers. Are you talking about goals like that?
Yes, definitely. Your goals should be really specific like that. So it could be,
Mm,
we want to grow our email list by 10%.
mhm,
That's very
mm,
specific, it's measurable, and it's providing your leads with the opportunity to take an action to further engage with your company. Or,
I
it
like
could
that.
be that you want to just gain a new amount of leads over, like, a growth over the leads that you got last year. So I want to see, a 20% growth in the leads that we gather at this trade show versus what we did last year. So that's a different way that you could be measuring these goals. And it's very specific and it's
Mhm.
time locked into the time that you're spent at the trade show. So you're not like gathering data from before and after. It's very specific to your show so that you can, if you have to prove to a higher up, what's the ROI on us attending this show? Well, here it is. We have a measurable way that we can track this and that we can show that we're growing each year, that it's important for us to attend this because we're getting new leads each and every year. And then that ties into you having a defined sales process because, while it's great that you get 20% new leads, you still need to follow up with them. Otherwise, they're just sitting
Of course, and the salesperson in me loves, "Let's beat next year." That's a
there.
good goal as long as you measure it. Or I'm
Yeah.
sorry, "Let's beat last year."
Yes, exactly. And so I even go so far as to recommend having maybe some goal planning sessions pre-show with
Mm,
the people from your company who are going to be attending that show so that everyone is on the same page, everyone's clear about what the specific goal is, what they're going to be measured on, and what needs to be done after the show to follow up with whatever leads you're gaining, whatever goal it is that you're trying to achieve.
I like that.
The third tip that I have is after you've created this goal, you need to create marketing materials that support this goal. So every piece of marketing and sales collateral that you bring to the show, that you develop for the show, it should all result with achieving that end goal that you've already decided. So, marketing materials could be a landing page that you create. That should be really easy. It should be frictionless. It should line up with everything that you've decided you're presenting at the show. And it should ultimately guide your lead towards taking that action that you've decided on as your goal. So, if that's signing up for an email newsletter, there should be a form on there. There should be an incentive for them to sign up, whether it's a giveaway, a coupon, just saying, hey, we launch a new product every month and you'll be the first to learn about it by signing up for this newsletter. Things like that are what's going to allow you to not just, like I said, collect business cards, but have your leads take an action. And you're developing all these materials beforehand to be able to guide your leads towards that action. The other thing about these marketing materials is, like I've mentioned a couple of times, it's not just after the show. You need marketing materials before the show. You need marketing materials that you can use at the show, that you can send out at the end of every day to people who visited your booth, that you can follow up with after they've attended the show and visited your booth. So this isn't just like, "Well, we're going to create a sell sheet for our new product and we're going to bring that to the show and we're going to hand it out to everyone." That's a really good idea, but that's not the only thing that you should be doing. So these materials should encompass everything from when you've decided that you're attending this show to, 6 months down the line when you're still nurturing these leads that you've gained from that show.
Oh my god, I love it. Okay, my favorite thing you said was the landing page specific to that trade show.
Yes.
I mean, it kinda seems like you're talking about taking that brand new little baby lead and walking them through your journey, and I feel like it's borrowing a buyer enablement tip from Gartner, like, this is cool stuff. I love that. That's my favorite thing you said so far.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I recommend to all my clients that, and I'll talk about this in a little bit later, tips as well. But I recommend to all my clients, you're going to this show, you're probably promoting something specific, whether it be, your latest product, a new service line, even if you're just there to promote your company as a whole. There are things that are specific to this trade show that you want these people to focus in on. So maybe you did a demo at the trade show and you recorded it. Put that on your landing page so that those people can have it fresh in mind, so that when you follow up with them afterwards, they click on that page, they go directly to your landing page that you've created for the trade show. They can rewatch that demo, they can send it to other people in their company. They can have that information right at the tip of their fingers without having to scroll through your website and try to find what they're looking for. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. It's all focused and directed right there. And then you also give them a way to follow up with you, whether it's like a form or an email or contact information right on that page. Everything is right there for them. So it makes it really frictionless and easy for them to find what they're looking for.
It is super cool. And
Yeah.
and then, I mean, like, when we're talking about sales and marketing alignment, I'm going off track a little bit, I'm sorry. There's no way that the marketing team can really know what to put on that landing page and what the journey needs to look like post-show unless there's that tight alignment between the sales and the marketing teams.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier with having your sales process really defined. And I'm sure it sounds like you agree with this, Summer, but part of that does include marketing, because marketing needs to bring in those leads to be able to pass them off to sales so that sales can close them as customers. And if they're not working
Mhm.
hand in hand, then it's going to be really disjointed. There's going to be a lot of friction and it's going to be harder for people to really understand where they're supposed to go, what they're supposed to do, who they're supposed to talk to, et cetera.
For sure, for sure. Very cool. Okay,
Yeah.
let's
And that actually does kind of lead me into my tip 4, which is making sure that your website is prepared to assist you. You want to do a website audit if you're directing people to your website. So, yes, you're directing them hopefully to a specific landing page for your trade show, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to then click around on your website. So, you want to make sure that it's at the top of its game before you attend your next show, because it is your biggest marketing asset and it's probably already in place. So you want to make sure that your products are up to date, that any company information is up to date, that your homepage is directing people to the right places, that there's no broken links anywhere, that people aren't going to click on something and go to the wrong place, or it's going to be an error or anything like that. You want to make sure that any company or any information really is not out of date. And you want to make sure that you have blogs up there or other web content that's going to establish yourself as a thought leader in your industry and show that you understand your customers, that you understand their problems, and that you have the capability of solving it for them. The other thing that you're going to want to do is any digital assets that you're creating for your trade show, you want to make sure that they match your website. So, this landing page that we're talking about, don't go make an entire new template for this page. Don't go crazy. Don't make it look completely different from your website, because then when people click into your website, they're going to be confused. It's going to be very jarring to them. They're going to say, am I in the right place? Am I interacting with the right company? It's going to be confusing. The same thing with any email templates that you're sending out, any flyers or sell sheets or anything like that you're creating. You want to make sure that they are all cohesive to your brand, to your brand standards, to your website, to everything should match so that people are not confused. They're not disjointed. You want to create as seamless of a flow as possible so that they're always knowing that they're interacting with you and it's in the right place.
It's so smart. I'm so glad I asked a marketer about this, because when I was preparing a blog on this, I never would have thought of a website audit before conference season, but it 100% makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does because, like I said, you already have all of that out there. And that is probably the first place that people are going to go when they are looking into your company. These days,
Mhm.
people are always researching before they even interact with you. So having all of that ready to go, having it looking nice, having it, clean and the correct information is just going to put you that much further ahead of people who didn't take the time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. When they're looking at their conference materials and deciding which exhibitor they want to visit, they're going to click on your website. And if it,
Yep.
it looks junky, they're not even going to stop by your booth. Brilliant.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And, it's the same thing as like combing your hair or putting on a nice outfit or anything like that. Like this is your image that you're presenting. So you want to make sure that you're
Mhm.
presenting a professional and knowledgeable image.
Yep. Love it. Thank you. Hey, did you know that I am not just a podcast host? The conversations that I host on the show is my full work on display. The inspiration for the panels comes from the work with my collaborators, and the featured founders are people that I find through my networking. I'm doing something at the end of first quarter and through second quarter that has been helpful, and so I'm going to offer this to the public. I have been working with people in my network to get a second set of eyes on the 2026 growth strategy. Right about now is the time of year when you started out with your 2026 strategy. It felt great. And now is when you're maybe wondering. There's been a lot of uncertainty lately. And what I'm hearing from people is that they're nervous. Like, what if it doesn't pan out? Am I overly optimistic? Am I doing the right things? Will this lead to success later? Because those leaders know that if you're asking those questions in October or September, even for a lot of SaaS orgs with long sales cycles, that is too late, and you can't pull a diving save for your year in fourth quarter. So for anybody who wants a second set of eyes, I run a diagnostic and I will give you an honest assessment on where I see some potential leaks. And I will give you 2 to 3 things that you could concentrate on that will give you the most lift, and also an actionable framework around it so that you're not just getting a list of to-do things, right? It's a do this now, do this later. And for the do this now, it is like how to get it done. It is custom to everybody. I don't bring my same deck or framework to every organization. It is truly an analysis of where you're at, what you're doing, where you want to go. It is sales, it's marketing, it's customer success or retention, and it's partnerships, because growth is not just sales. And what we're looking at is a multifaceted, multi-threaded way to grow that also makes the best of the resources that you currently have so that you don't grow your revenue and your expenses at the same rate and end up with a much bigger company and the same profit line. So if you know anybody who could use a second set of eyes or just a little vote of confidence, some focus on the best things to do, you know where to find me. Back to the show.
The next tip that I always recommend for my clients is, like I've mentioned before, this isn't something that just starts at the show. You want to begin marketing to the people who are you think are going to be attending before the show even starts. So we actually have like a whole timeline built out for when to start doing this. But as I've recommended, you start planning this 6 to 12 months ahead of time. And I would say about 2 to a month and a half, 2 months to a month and a half before your show is coming up, you want to start sending out information. You want to put a homepage banner on your website to kind of let people know that you're going to be attending this show. You could even have an area of your website that lets people know what shows you're going to be attending during the upcoming conference season so that they're aware of that. You can post on social media. You can have your team members post on social media about it. Like I said, creating a landing page for after the show, you could create one for before the show as well that just lets people know what your booth number is, what you're going to be talking about there at your booth, that has the form that they can fill out if they have any specific questions that they want to talk with you about. You could have like a meeting link set up that if people want to book a time to come visit you at the booth to ask their specific questions, that they can do that and they know that you'll be there. So all of these things can be sent out to people through an email campaign before your show even starts. So you could maybe base it, if you have a list of contacts and you know that, say, for example, the show, because I'm located in Southern California, so the show is going to be in San Diego. So look to all of your local Southern California contacts and let them know that you're going to be at this show. And if they want to come learn about XYZ product, if they want to come see your demo, if they want to set up a sales meeting with you, whatever it may be, just advertise that you're going to be there. Having an email campaign in place is really helpful for getting all of this information to your contacts because you can link this landing page. You can, maybe even share social media posts in your email. You can do any of that kind of stuff to let people know that you're going to be there. You just want your presence to be known and you want them to know what you're going to be talking about at the show so that they can come prepared and be ready to learn and be ready to make significant connections rather than, like we've said, just hand a business card and leave.
Yeah. And I'm going to touch on one thing that you said, and it kind of sounds like, okay, sometimes you get an email list and sometimes you don't. Every show is different. And
Hmm.
sometimes the smaller, more regional shows don't necessarily set out an email list, or they have a weird rule that you can only email it to at once, or like they're a little behind what you might want to do with your marketing efforts. They'll give you the list like a week in advance or something like that. And the
Hmm.
common excuse I would always hear that drove me a little bonkers, I'm getting on my soapbox right now, is like, oh, we don't have a list for this show, or oh, we don't have the list yet. I mean, and what you said was like, oh, the contacts that are in San Diego, like you kind of know who went to the show last year or who in your database is likely to be thinking about going. And there's no reason why you can't email them with a, hey, if you're going to be at this show, something like that. So I would encourage people not to use no list or late list as a convenient excuse to not do email campaigns well in advance.
Yes. Yes, definitely. And one of the things that I always set up for my clients who are attending conferences or trade shows is as we gather the leads that they're getting daily from people who are visiting their booth, we build
Mm.
in a specific tag in there. We use HubSpot for them, but I'm sure this can be accomplished in any type of CRM system where it says, they came from XYZ Trade Show 2024. So
Mm.
then, like you said, Summer, next year when you're going to that trade show, then you look at everyone that came from XYZ Trade Show 2024 and you send them an email. Hey, we loved having you at our booth last year. If you're attending this year, we're going to be showcasing our new product or we're going to be showcasing this new service line. We'd love to have you stop by. So even if you don't get a list until the week before, you have a list of all those people that you gathered last year or maybe a different trade show that's also local to the area that you could send out. If they're attending that trade show, they may very well be attending this trade show. So there's ways that you can send out to people, especially if you are keeping a really clean and detailed list of contacts that you can then, use filters, use a regional filter, use a where did I meet this person type of filter to pull contacts out to be able to advertise your presence at a trade show. So that's a really good point.
Makes perfect sense. No excuses.
Exactly. My next tip covers kind of what happens at the trade show. And what happens at the trade show is that your marketing and your sales are not going to be stopping once the show starts. So you have taken the time, you've been planning for 12 months now, you have sat down, you've created really detailed goals. They are measurable, they're actionable, you know the plan. So now it's time to execute it. So you have built all of these marketing materials that you can use at the show. So direct your visitors to your landing page. Say, hey, like we're going to have a video of this demo up on our landing page. Here's a link to it. Encourage them to sign up for a newsletter. If you have some sort of giveaway that you're doing at your booth, make sure that they enter. You can have a tablet right at your booth that have the landing page pulled up and they can just enter right there. So you want to make sure that you're using all of this stuff that you built, and dazzling and connections and all of that are absolutely great. And that's what you, as a sales team, are there to do. But you also need to make sure that you're using these assets and these materials that you've built because they are designed to help you accomplish that goal that you've already set up. One of the other things that we like to do for our clients is build an email campaign that just sends a thank you email to any of your booth visitors, and it goes out at the end of the day. So every day, have your list that you can pull from whatever software the conference or trade show is using, and they just send that our way and we upload it into their CRM system, and an automatic email goes out that says, thank you for visiting our booth. We loved having you. We ask all of our clients to take pictures while they're there. So we have them take a picture of the whole sales team standing at their booth smiling so that people can remember, oh yeah, I spoke with this person, put a face to a name, and just kind of as a touch point that's going to lead into our post-show marketing effort. So we like to do that. And that also does help kind of lay the groundwork to let them know that you're going to be following up. You've already followed up as a thank you. And hopefully in your sales conversations, you've made touch points, you've taken notes, you've done things that are going to let them know, like, oh, yes, I have a blog article about that I'd love to send you. Let me follow up with you after the show. We're going to be videoing this demo. I'll send you a link to it so that you can share it with your coworker who wasn't able to attend. So you want to be laying the groundwork to let them know that this isn't just like, oh, I'm getting your business card and calling it a day. Like, I'm going to be following up with you. I'm going to be sending you information. I'm going to be just following through and letting them know that you're here to help them. You're here to help them solve a problem. You're here to help them, with whatever issue they have, that they're coming to your booth looking for a solution to be able to solve that.
The email campaign at the end of each day, I think, is clever. Very few companies do that. And I think that that's certainly a tip that could kind of set you ahead. Because most companies are doing their follow-up like the next Monday when everybody's coming home. And like conference energy is sucked out of the room because you went home, you were tired, you did whatever you do on the weekend, and then you come back on Monday morning and you're like, okay, now I have to catch up. I feel like it gets lost in a sea of catch up and follow up because everybody's following up. So the thank you email, that extra touch point at the end of the day, I think that's super clever.
Yes. Yeah, we really like that. And I think what helps it too, like I said, is just having that personalized photo. So not only are you getting this kind of really quick little touch point, I'm sure people are just, they leave, they go back to their hotel, they're scrolling through emails really quick to make sure that there's no fires to put out. And they see like, oh, I got this email from Summer and, we just visited her booth. And then they open it up and there's your smiling face and you say, hi, thank you for visiting. And they're like, oh, that was really nice. So it's just an extra touch point, like you said. So we really like doing that, and our clients seem to really like it as well. So enjoy that. The final tip that I have is, like I've been saying the whole time, you need to follow up post-show. I see a lot of clients, before we start working with them, where they get all these leads, they get all these emails, they get all these business cards from attending their show, and they're just like, okay, that was great. And that does nothing for you. So, you've talked with them, you have their business card. Well, that's wonderful, but they probably don't have your email. And they're probably not going to go out of their way to look it up or to fill out your contact form on your website. So you need to be the one that's following up with them. And that's where the sales process that we've talked about before really comes into play, because if that's very strong and defined, then your sales team knows exactly what to do after they have this list. So they leave, and like you said, then it's the next Monday. They're reaching out, they're following up, they've had their notes that they've taken. Like, I met Amy at this conference and she had a question about this particular product. So let me follow up with her and send her the blog article that we already have written about that, or let me direct her to the product page or whatever it may be. You have all that ready to go. You know what you're supposed to do, and you're following up with these people to then push them further through your sales process rather than just letting them live in your CRM until the next trade show that you then reach out to them and say, hey, hope to see you there, which you should be doing, but that shouldn't be the only thing that you're doing. The other thing that we like to do is maybe there's some people who weren't as strongly interested. Those are great candidates for a follow-up drip campaign where you've built out a series of 3 to 4 emails that you send that are just kind of giving them more information about whatever you were discussing at the trade show,
Mm.
or that is guiding them towards whatever your goal is. So if you are still looking for more people to be able to sign up for your email list or whatever that is, you can guide them towards that while also still giving them additional information without maybe that next level sales follow up if they're not quite ready for that. And then the final thing that we like to include is, like I said, you have a landing page that you've built with all of your show information. So we always, regardless of if they are super ready for sales to talk to them, or if maybe they are in the drip campaign category, we still, no matter who it is, we like to follow up with that post show landing page to just recap all of the information that was presented at the show. If there's any kind of coupon that we created that's tied to them visiting your booth, we like to, remind them of that, send it to them, link to any of the products that were discussed at the show. If there was, like I said, a demo, you have a video of it, we send that. So any of that kind of recap stuff, that's going to go out to everyone. And then just depending on conversations that you've had with them, they could either go to a drip campaign or be followed up with from the sales process. And then everyone needs to be followed up with for any future trade shows that you're going to be attending.
Sure. I love the recap with all the show notes and leveraging that landing page for that. Because what I find just as a trade show attendee is sometimes you gather a bunch of stuff and it doesn't even come home with you, because when you're packing, your suitcase is super full and you're like, whatever, and you just leave it in your hotel room. And then it just furthers the loss of information that happens as soon as you leave the show.
Mm-hmm.
So that follow-up and that recap has to help remind people who you are, that they actually did talk to you, and maybe they didn't bring your brochure home, but here's the information. Nice.
Yep.
And
Yes.
love it.
Yep. And what we've done for clients in the past too is, like I had mentioned, we always like to put a picture of the sales team that's taken at the booth just as a visual reminder.
Mhm.
This is who I talked to. This is what their booth looked like. And
Mm.
then, like you said, maybe they don't bring home the brochure. Well, we have a digital version of whatever brochures or sell sheets or whatever it is that we are handing out. And that's also included in the post-show landing page, so that, like you said, you left it at home, you lost your pen, you left your little stress ball, whatever it was that got handed out. All that information is right there. So you could have it on paper or you could have it in this follow-up email.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. Thank you, Amy. Tons of good stuff in there. And I'm going to link Do What Works in the show notes so that you can reach out directly if you have more questions. Well, there you have it. I can attest. I use some of these tactics myself. Instead of meeting new people, we're having detailed discussions at the show. We're negotiating the contract. We're doing the demo. The final deal is done. All those sorts of things. Sped up revenue and deal velocity. And really what we were able to do is tie real ROI from the event, which helped when we're putting the event budget in front of finance to sell the need to do those events. So for those of you listening from the gym or the car, again, I appreciate you, and I will be back later this month with fresh new content.